How do we choose a developer who's trustworthy?
See, there are two ways. And I'm a big believer that if you're putting such a big amount of money on the table, you should be willing to do unconventional due diligence.
Unconventional due diligence. Okay, I like that. Go on.
So the first way is that while you listen to everybody about a particular developer, there is no substitute for you actually going and checking his credentials. And surprisingly, real estate is the only industry where there is no insider information needed to know who's the right guy. You don't need to be an insider. What do you need to do? You need to ensure that you go and visit that guy's previous 5 projects and see their quality and talk to the people living there. So if you're buying from developer A, go and check his last 5 projects. Go inside the project, tell the broker that I'm a tenant, I want to buy the house. He'll show you. Meet the people who are staying there. Ask them their experience. When you bought it under construction to delivery, how was the journey? Were there leakages? Was the builder acting in good faith? Did he throw any unique conditions? Okay. Second way, again, a public document, the legal agreement. A legal agreement between the builder and buyer can tell you a lot more about the intent of the builder than anything else.
For example,
Example, there's one clause. It's one of the strangest clauses I've read in my life, where a prime Mumbai developer tells every buyer that you are buying a home with me, but in case of any construction defect in the apartment, you and me both have to go to the contractor to ask him to fix it. So he is in a way making you his part-time builder or part-time assistant in fixing the issue when it's supposed to be his responsibility. And this is a top-tier Mumbai developer. But it tells you the intent that he says, you know what, whatever happens to the apartment, don't blame me. Similar thing, which actually I think I'm surprised how it was even legal, where a developer tells you, I'm selling you an apartment. You can't sell it up to a particular date, okay? And even after that date, you cannot sell at a price below X number, okay? So think of it this way. You have bought a home, say for 3 crore. He tells you can't sell the home below 3.5 crore. You say, okay, fine, get me a buyer for 3.5 crores. But there's a problem. Nobody in the market is willing to pay 3.5 crores. So what do? You're stuck. But those are clauses that are actually there in the agreement.
is that even legal?
I don't think it's legal. I'm sure somebody must have filed a case that we are not aware of. But it's basically, you're holding the buyer captive. So he's introduced his own ready reckoner rate. That below this, you cannot sell. I've heard of cases where a buyer has done, 3 crores he's bought the apartment. The builder says the cost of the apartment is 3.5 crores. You cannot sell below that. He sells the home for actually 3.25 crore. Okay. He returns 25 lakhs to the buyer. So he tells the buyer, you give me 3.5 crores to fulfill this condition. The market rate is 3.25 crores, I agree. I will return back 25 lakhs to you. Because that is the only way to bypass it. So the legal agreement, again, publicly available on the RERA website of that project.
Okay.
Third thing, you have to know that you do not know enough due diligence about his financials.
Sorry, third thing is?
As a common home buyer, you do not have enough due diligence on the capital strength of the builder.
Correct.
So how do you know that? You go to the person who has lent him money.
Bank,
NBFC, whoever it is, okay? And try to gauge what is the cost of money he is borrowing from that lender.
How do you do that?
This will be market intelligence. Okay. In this also there are 2 categories. One is an NBFC. Other is a bank. Now the NBFCs have a more flexible environment to lend to developers. Okay. They lend to developers even below a certain grade, while banks are more stringent. So if an NBFC has lent to a developer, you should assume that he is not the most credit-worthy developer. Secondly, you should also know within that, what rate is he borrowing at? Because the lender is charging him an interest rate based on the risk that he perceives the builder to be. So use his due diligence to factor in how much you should trust him.
So how much interest rate is healthy?
See, if you get it at this point below 12%, 13% is good, is okay. If the developer is borrowing money at above 20%, you have to assume he's on the mission to commit suicide. And you should not try to jump in with him. So those three unconventional ways, you figure out from him his last few track record delivery, the legal agreement that he has, and third, his financials.
Sir, my last question to you is, considering the prices in Mumbai right now, sir, what do you think will happen to Mumbai's real estate prices? Will they 2x, 3x in the next 5 to 10 years, or how's it going to span out?
The 2x, maybe for a handful of properties at best, 3x no chance, and 5x also no chance. See, most projects, if I was to guess, 80% of the projects in Mumbai will probably see lower prices, lower effective prices 12 to 24 months down the line than they are today.
So, do you have any closing remarks for anyone who's watching this episode in 2026?
Just my closing remarks will be that buy smart, buy patiently, don't get carried away by the hype. Remember one thing, that when you're buying a home, you are alone in this pursuit. Everyone makes money when you buy a home. So there is that urge to push you to buy a home. So you have to be able to resist that temptation. Look at it very dispassionately. Don't get carried away, and never ever buy because of FOMO. That is the single biggest crime.
Then when should you buy?
You should buy when the market is weak, when there is no FOMO pressure.
How do you figure out whether the market is weak or not?
The signs, like the billboards. The billboards will tell you whether the market is weak or strong, and that is the most public information. You just have to be able to read that billboard. On the billboards, if the prominent thing is the product, the market is strong. If you start seeing the prominent part in a billboard being the payment plan for the apartment, 20, 80, 30, 70, you can assume that the market is softening. Then in the billboard, if you see prominent things, the payment plan and the price, you have to assume the market is weak.
How many months of inventory says that the market is weak?
So anything above, in my view, 40 months, you should assume it is weak.
Then you have a bargaining power over the builder, right?
Yes.
And I'm assuming you can negotiate up to 20%.
20% with the most vulnerable guys, yes. Or depending on the starting point of the developer. Because one thing I've noticed in luxury is that everybody is in Mumbai has started out with these fanciful notions of, I'll sell at 1 lakh rupees per square feet. It's become like a very easy rate to even say. 5 years back, people used to hesitate to say, 1 lakh per square feet. Now everybody is saying 1 lakh per square feet. But it's not transacting at 1 lakh per square feet. So people have to walk back. The discount is where you see between 1 lakh to suppose 70,000. The broker might tell you it's a 30% discount, but it's not, because 1 lakh was never the real price. It was a hopeful price. That's like saying tomorrow a builder will say 2 lakh rupees per square feet and then bring it down to 60,000. He's not giving you a 70% discount, because the 2 lakh price was never a real price.
Understood. If this clip gave you value, please subscribe to this channel so that we can keep bringing you game-changing business insights.